Daily Detroit is brought to you by the community. Support our work at patreon.com/dailydetroit.
Welcome back from the weekend and welcome back to your Daily Detroit. It is Monday, July 14th, 2025. I am Jer Stays. Today we have a fantastic guest, a longtime friend of the show, a longtime listener, Tina Kozak, CEO of Franco Public Relations. Now, Tina and I will be diving deep into the changes happening in our city, in our region, the future of media, and the vital role of mentorship. Plus, her firm's offices have been in the Renaissance Center downtown for many years, so she's got some thoughts on that too. Feedback, as always, dailydetroit@gmail.com. And remember that this Saturday, July 19th, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., we're doing a studio open house and community conversation at Techtown. Go to Eventbrite and search for Daily Detroit or hit up the podcast show notes and RSVP so we know how many snacks to bring. All right, let's hop into that conversation. Joining me at the table at the Grand Hotel is a longtime friend of the show, longtime listener, and we share a mentor.
We do.
Yes, Tina Kozak, who is the CEO of Franco Public Relations. If this sounds a little familiar, it's because, we've had drinks before, and I've really wanted to chat with you because there's just so much happening in media, in downtown, and everything. And as head of the PR firm is now more than 60 years old.
Yes.
You're actually in the mix. You even have an office in the RenCen.
Yes, we've been around forever.
Yeah, there's so much intersectionality, as they say in the world. So I guess the first thing I'll get to, Tina, is how are things in the world right now with running a business that's in the city and you serve a whole wide variety of clients. You've got your hands in a lot of things. How's the world feeling right now to you?
It's feeling still exciting, mixed with a little uncertainty. I think uncertainty is maybe the word of the year. A little bit complex. I think that it just takes really extra focus from a leader to, navigate the uncertainty. But being up here, seeing all these leaders, trying to solve the problems that we kind of all agree on what they are, wanting to work together, still really optimistic. So still a lot of energy. Very exciting.
For sure. And I know that you've been seeing a lot of things with the RenCen. You've got your office there. What do you think of some of the plans and some of the ideas? I know that there's a lot of shifts happening, but as we see them now, what do you kind of think of them?
I like the plans. I really like opening it up. I like connecting it a little bit more with the rest of the, downtown central business district. I like opening up the riverfront for pedestrian traffic. I think whether the mix is, residential or office tenants or whatever it is, I just want it to be vibrant and activated. So it seems like this plan would bring a lot of people through and would bring access to the riverfront from maybe people who don't get over to that side. And I think that's what we need. The riverfront is so beautiful. I've had the good fortune of sitting up in the 400 tower on the 10th floor for about 18 years since I worked at Franco, and never do I take it for granted. Every day I walk into that office, every day I turn, the corner in my car and I see that riverfront, I just, it still takes my breath away. We're so lucky to have that. And so I just want it to be active and vibrant.
Do you think the changes will bring more people through? Because, I can't help but notice there has been a lot of changes in foot traffic over there, especially with the shifts in General Motors.
Yes.
It seems like the other tenants are still doing their thing. I have a friend at a law firm. They're doing things. But
yes,
General Motors was such a anchor of activity that without them being a major presence,
right,
it just kind of took some of the wind out of the sails.
Right. Yeah, and you still have the hotel. So when there are activities and different conferences, there are people, but those people are in Detroit for a destination, for another reason. And I think that people who live and, work and socialize in the downtown area miss getting over to the building and getting over to the riverfront because it's been quieter, it's been disconnected. So yeah, I do think the plans would bring more people down to the riverfront, via where the RenCen is right now. So I think everyone needs to get over there more. And this plan seems like it would do that.
We mentioned at the top of the show, we share a mentor in Marge Sorge, who is a pillar of journalism.
Yes.
And it was such is such a trailblazer in so many ways, although, kind of semi-retired, still very much with us.
Yes.
And very much spirited, which I really appreciate. I feel like there's been so many changes, just even in the last 10 years, let alone the last 20. You're talking a number of years. You've been at the 400 tower. It kind of makes my head spin a little bit because public relations has and media in general. I mean, I remember press releases. I remember like the red pen of going through everything. And now literally it's like, oh, this goes straight to the website and straight out to the email. Like the pace, well, the expectations have changed so much. How have you kind of wrapped your head around it?
Yes. Well, first, let me tell you, Marge Sorge, the absolute best. I think we can agree on that. I will never forget the day I was told that she was going to come over to the auto supplier where I worked and run our department. And I mean, she was just a legend in journalism and in corporate communications. And I was so terrified to meet her. I just wanted to make a good impression. I was so nervous. And she was just so amazingly gracious. I think lives to teach, like lives to learn and to teach, doesn't take herself too seriously, but follows the rules of good journalism and good writing. So luckily I had a really strong foundation in her, and she's still in my head when anyone writes a bio or something and writes that someone has worked for, Jer Stays has been running the podcast for over X number of years.
Over or more than?
It's more than.
It's more than. I don't care what the Associated Press style guide says.
It's more than. Marge says more than.
Listen, you go, the cow jumps over the moon, and there are more than 10 cows.
Yes, we haven't been over anything. We're more than. So those little things stick with me, thanks to our shared mentor. But yeah, communications changed a ton, and I think there are some real benefits from a consumer, a user, a reader standpoint, access to information. From a business standpoint, I think it's good that businesses have been challenged to be more transparent, maybe more proactive in communicating. A lot of the clients that we work with, these are things that we've been saying a long time. You can't wait. Someone's going to tell the story. And now there are a lot more someones to tell the story, and the story gets told. So I think message and like storytelling and relatability is really important in communications right now. And just the transparency, especially when things are somewhat uncertain. Good leaders need to be transparent, and that's what good journalists are out there reporting or digging for, is like, what is the honest truth here? What's happening?
And Marge was always transparent. When I worked at the Detroit Regional News Hub Detroit on Spun and did all that, and then I followed her working at Strategic Staffing Solutions.
Yes.
She was always a transparent leader. This is what's happening. This is what's the budget. This is where they're at. And that's what I try to share with this team, even though we're far smaller and have a far smaller budget.
Mm-hmm.
I find it to be a lot better to be a servant leader
than
try to impress people or be swaggity. I'm not that person. We are here. She taught me the team of misfits fits together.
Yes.
And that is what Daily Detroit is. And I absolutely love it. And that's one of the reasons why people are like, how can you make this thing happen with nothing?
Yep.
I mean, we have something, a wonderful Patreon members and all kinds of things, but nowhere near the budgets of other people. It's because you just got to hustle. You got to get it done. And I remember Marge marking up my posts. She would print out everything with the red marker.
Yes.
And she killed every semicolon that I ever used. Yes. Because it just was a great education. And one of the things that I worry about with the rise of AI, the rise of a lot of these things, is a lack of mentorship. There are so many people that I run into, not just in our business, but in a lot of places, where there isn't somebody to show them the ropes. Not that things don't change, not that you have to keep things the same way, but hey, by the way, this is what you do here. Or when you're going to this meeting, you need to think about this, or little things. So like when I go into a meeting, I see an office, and I always try to look at what's in their office and go, that's something we could talk about. That's something I learned from Marge.
Yes.
A lot of younger folks, that you don't learn that from AI. You don't learn that from ChatGPT.
No.
These are interpersonal skills that I really worry that we're losing, and it's going to like pull us apart more and more. And I see that in society, that we're getting pulled apart more and more.
Yeah, I was really lucky too in the auto industry, because I grew up in auto, and where I worked with Marge was an automotive. I certainly didn't have a lot of female mentors or role models. And so I was so lucky to have Marge sort of in that role among some others who really kind of showed me the way, and that, one size doesn't fit all. Like you said, the misfits kind of fit together. Like, you don't have to be this type of person. You don't have to be this type of person. And I think I carry that today, coming into like the CEO role at Franco, and even being up here in Mackinac in the business, in the policy conference. And like, I'm not for everybody. I am who I am. I'm super true to my own values. And I think it's important that we continue. We're the role models, Jer.
terrifying.
Yeah, we're it.
People, there will be junior reporters around here will be asking me questions, and I'm like, wait a second. Oh yeah, I guess I am old enough to be your dad.
So we have to pass on those things, and I try really hard to do that with my teams and any chance I have to talk to students and young people, not to preach, but just to kind of talk about what's worked for me and to kind of help shape a little bit and answer questions. Because you're right, you're not going to get that online. You're not going to get that from generative AI. You've got to be with people, and you've got to know people and really, know who to trust and know what you like in leadership and know what you don't like. And you've got to be here in the flesh to do that.
Speaking of AI, it really terrifies a lot of journalists, especially on the print side, but everywhere of it just kind of taking over the job. And I feel like if you're a journalist who's doing journalism, AI can never replace you because it's the original reporting. It's not the stenography. It can definitely replace taking a press release and shrinking it to 200 characters. It can do that. Right. But it can't replace the more in-depth work. And I feel like, how is it impacting you? Because for me, I use it as a sidecar. I'm somebody who, you give me a spreadsheet, maybe I'll put it in there for some ideas of where to start to look in there. And I use it as a tool as opposed to a creative engine.
Replacement for it, right.
Yeah.
No, I think you're absolutely right. The tasks can be replicated, but no one can replicate the culture, right, of your show, for example, or of your writing or your reporting. And I think we get to now create more value. What we're trying to do, what I'm trying to do, is how can I create more value because of who I am and what I can pour into something, and let some of the tasks, like the little tactical things, be expedited by AI. So there's kind of two ways. One is creative inspiration, right? So just getting ideas, just kind of putting good prompts in to kind of get ideas to get me down a path, rather than starting with a blank slate. And not necessarily just for writing, but just for thinking. Sometimes it's how I always do better if I'm batting something around with someone. So in the absence of someone, hey, help me start thinking about this. So I think idea generation, and then some of the little tasks things, summarize this, write these meeting notes. But that's not going to replace the culture of what makes us us and what makes us good at our jobs, right? Or the magic that happens when you put a team together, whether it's, our team or us working with the client, or, you and Cheyenne working here, there's magic that happens in the coming together of people. And I don't think, AI is going to replace that culture.
Well, and speaking of that culture, I understand that you busted your husband by showing up on the show first. And I really say hi to him because I know he's a longtime listener.
He is.
But I also understand he is a pointer of interest.
Oh, yes, he was.
So he's got one leg up.
There's a little competition. Yeah, there is a little competition. Usually he's up here with me, but this year he is home with the kids. So thank him for that. So maybe now that, you can invite him in and you guys can talk cocktails or talk Daily Detroit lore, because he is an original listener. But yes, he was featured in the Grosse Pointe News Pointer of Interest, and we joke all the time. A lot of people look at that, Jer. It's right on the back side of the paper. So the paper comes, you flip it over, and you see that mug. And so, everybody in town was like, "Oh, I saw Mike." Yes, but deservedly so. He's doing great things too.
Well, I think that shows to go that it's not about the largest audience. It's about the right audience.
The right audience. Yeah, absolutely. People who know you, right? We're not trying to reach strangers. We want to reach people who we resonate with, and it's the relationships.
We're talking about culture. How do you kind of keep culture going as your organization grows? Because I remember when Franco was a much smaller situation. And, I believe you bought into the business.
Yes.
You worked there and then you bought into the business.
Yes. I worked there. I started back in 2007. I started buying in maybe around 2013. And I finished that up last year, end of 23, early 24. So we are now women owned, and it is a big responsibility to be sort of the oversight and the steward of this brand that's been around for so long. And the culture is the most important thing that we have. I think that any business has as a potential, and certainly with ours. I think human-centric leadership, and Jared, I don't like when people call them soft skills. Okay. Like I don't like when people, but if I say soft skills, you're going to know, right? But these are skills like emotional intelligence. And we've known each other a long time. Like I know you get it. Vulnerability, resilience, like just transparency. I think those are the things that build a culture and that weave people together tightly. And then when we are known sort of to each other, we just do really great work for the businesses that we work for. We kind of infuse with our clients as well. Like if they hire us, it's not because we write the best press release, Jer. I always say it's not because we write the best press release. It's because you get to work with amazing people and they care so much and we kind of fuse together. And I think that's what makes a culture. And a culture can be any team. It can be us and our clients working together. It's, a family culture. It's the business culture. So I think that's the most important thing that you can nurture.
So I got to ask you, from your catbird seat that you'll have for a while, I know that the plans aren't all together, but right now you have a catbird seat up many stories high in Tower 400.
Yes.
What is your bold prediction for things in Detroit and Metro Detroit from what you're seeing from your clients and just talking to people around here? Because I see you in like half these meetings.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to talk about long-term vision, long-term predictions. I really think that we'll continue to reinvent, who we are as a region with tech and mobility and, software and all the things that will help sort of maybe industrialize, like from a technology standpoint. But it's going to be the people. It's going to be because we, invested in neighborhoods that people want to live in and invested in, downtowns where people want to work and in culture that bring people together. And we've done so much of that. And I think that'll keep happening. But I think what we'll see is just a coalescing of the region as like this new tech, mobility, ancillary industries, and very, very vibrant. I think we're continuing to go up.
So you're bullish.
On Detroit, always.
Well, that's good to hear. Tina Kozak, head honcho, chief cook, and bottle washer, CEO of Franco Public Relations. So good to see you, and we'll catch up again soon.
Thanks, Jer.
Thanks so much for listening. If you don't already, make sure to hit that follow button in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to shows. That way we'll make sure you're back here tomorrow. I'm Jer Stays. Remember that you are somebody, and I'll see you around Detroit.